All right.
Well, I'm so glad we're back from vacation. Last week's episode was amazing, and the trend continues today with our guest,
Neal Fisher from Down
Neal
Under.
Fisher from Down Under.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. He's done a lot of work to bring consciousness to a certain level, and I think he has a lot to offer. And there's some goodies at the end for sure. I know I said that last week too, but it seems to happen. There's something that happens at the end of these conversations where people go, "Oh, it's about to end. I better put that special extra sauce in there." And Neal definitely comes through, and you come through for him. I love what you offer him at the end. And of course, I'm teasing the audience because you got to stick around for the goodies, man. Don't sell us or yourself short. Put in the time and get the goodies for yourself. And if you don't get the goodies, then you feel free to write us at the hosts at mopedoutlaws.com.
Yeah.
And please share, subscribe, and we continue to have a relationship with Adrenochrome Cola. We're still working out some of the issues around the ad that we have, but it's coming. And something good is always worth waiting for, especially something with so much elite flavor. I hope you enjoy the episode, and I'm really glad that I haven't let Greg talk at all in this intro.
Sis, hallo?
Leven.
Bestuur zeker wegen dem.
Joh je iets niet, joh.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Mark.
Neal Fisher joining us, the unified man. He's a coach, a bodybuilder, a revolutionary thinker, and he's written a book, A Unified Man, Building a Nation from Within. We're going to have a conversation about what it's like to ride the moped to oblivion. Welcome, Neal.
Fuck yeah, I love that. I'm a massive fan of Mad Max of Fury Road, riding the highways of Valhalla. So fucking I can dig it, baby. I can dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that whole series is brilliant. It just got better and better and better.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Changed my life even to this day. Like a thing that I apply to my life, which is called a life statement. It's a sacred doctrine. It's a sacred scripture that you write to yourself and you feed your energy and attention to it. And it becomes alive and it becomes like a universal commander of such. And that actually becomes the dictation of your life. So in that statement that I've written is the ending of it is the quote from Fury Road where the war boy says, "I live, I die, I live again." And what does that mean? It's exactly that. I'm living, but in order for us to become our true highest best form, in order for me to ascend all my bullshit, I have to die. All of my ego, all of my preconceptions, they have to die so that I can live again as my true self.
Now, does that imply that you have a spiritual belief in reincarnation as well, or is that more in the symbolic way that these iconic personality traits that we develop and we latch onto must be recycled and rejuvenated over time? Which is it?
I guess it's both. So like, if there's one thing I realize, it's that I can't take any of my thoughts seriously, right, fellas? I can't take a single one of my thoughts seriously. And why is that? Because if I go back a week ago, if I go back 2 years ago, if I go back 20 years ago, everything I thought and I grasped onto, it's false. It didn't serve me, and it was just some misconception. So therefore that means that any conviction or belief or thought that I latch onto in this moment must be bullshit as well, because it's just a continual process of evolution. So yes, I have to, metaphorically and spiritually have to let go of everything that actually blocks consciousness itself.
Even that thought is bullshit.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. Everything's bullshit, man.
So this idea that there's no anchor thoughts is also bullshit.
Well, who knows, man? What do you think about that? What makes you say that?
Well, I think there's something we like to call core values that we do hold on to, right? And they're just as illusory and ephemeral as any of the other thoughts, right? But without them, we'd live in a world which would lack integrity, it would lack devotion, it would lack service, it would lack these higher principles that we're all trying to create together.
Yeah, 100% character traits. There is core character traits, core doctrines that would guide our ethics, our the way that we interact with other people. 100%. But I mean, we all know there's something in there. I know there's something in there. You can always feel when something's holding you back.
Yeah. I'm reminded, sticking to the Road Warrior analogy, did you see Thunderdome?
Yeah, I can't remember it, though. I can't remember it.
Well, I love the premise of we don't need another hero. And that was kind of the whole basis of that storyline, is he didn't want to be the hero. And ultimately, at the end, he wasn't the hero. Which what I hear you and Mark talk about, there is for me a continual challenge of wanting to be the hero in my own story. And the more I can let that go, then the broader I am to nature and what is.
100%. I couldn't agree more with you, Greg. I could not agree more with you. And like, even with the whole unified man thing, right? Everything I wrote in there, it's good shit. But the place that I was coming from, that I look in retrospect, it was from a place of insecurity. It was from a place of trying to prove something, trying to be everybody's hero, right? And all that was just a false thought. That was just some illusion that I had about myself, because there was a shadow within me that I wasn't seeing, that this was coming from a place of fear and doubt. And now I love that, is that we don't need to be anybody else's hero. We just need to be. And the whole point of my yarn before, Mark, about all my thoughts of bullshit, is because that's just what I think I should be. That's what I want. But there's a much grander power at work. There's the universal force, God, whatever you want to call it. We all know it's there. It's not what I want. It's what it wants. It's what it has planned for me. And when I let go of all of my wantings and all this bullshit, then the force is allowed to flow through me, and then true action and true sentiment ensues.
Life can really breathe into that moment when you get out of the way.
Fucking oath.
Yeah. So you're in, as you've described it, the hardcore reality of nuclear devastation of Queensland, or something along those lines.
the thermonuclear inferno. I was. Yeah.
So it's hot, it's wet, and there's lots of predators.
Yeah, well, humans are the biggest predators, aren't they?
And is that part of why you've chosen the scorpion sting as your iconography?
That's just it's actually just something cool from a video game that I like. It just looks tough. It just looks tough, and it's just the sentiments of anti-establishment, really, of just not going with the brainwashing. Pretty much what it means.
Because red and black often signify fascist leanings, not anti-authoritarian leanings. So it's an interesting dichotomy there in the color choice.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I haven't got an answer for that, man. I just think it looks cool. And I mean, what's wrong with strengths? I'm not
nothing.
I'm just me, bro. I'm just me. And as long as I'm just being the best I can be, and I'm inspiring and lifting everyone else around to be the best they can be, I mean, that's all that matters. I mean, real authority doesn't require force. You know what I mean? It allows people to lift. It inspires people to lift and to regiment and align themselves. Whereas if you got to force someone, you're coming again from a position of insecurity and weakness. If you're trying to force people to do things, rather than being like gravity, just being that strong force that's not self-centered but self-assured, people will just follow and shoot, because we all need a leader. We all need someone to show us the way. And how do I know that? It's because I need that. I have people that personally work on me, and then it's just a chain link of initiation that is our ritual right, and our responsibility as men is to just pass on our wisdom and experience onto those that are coming after us.
Yeah, that brings up the question for me of what kind of rites and rituals have led you to where you are now? Anything specific you want to call in?
Yeah, probably false rituals. It's like, for me, it's everything that hurt. Like, because I'd have spent years and years and years just drinking alcohol and smoking heaps of weed and watching fucked up pornography and just fuck-assing around. Like, I still went to work. Like, I'm born in the Chinese year of the horse. I'll work until I die. I'll work until my back breaks. But it wasn't getting anywhere because I had 1 foot in the future and 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in personal development and 1 foot in self-destruction. And, you know, what I was identified with in the circle I was in, it served me up until a point, because I had strong men around me from the old world, like hard, tough men that were present. They didn't know anything about the cyberspace or any of this goggly goop that plagues people's minds today, or the shit that, you know, that runs through my head. They didn't know any of that crap because they didn't have any of this bullshit influence. So I got that, but it wasn't enough. There was that call within that there's a pain that's not being addressed. You're being called by that higher source to do something more. So I reached the sublime through subtraction. I realized that these bandages didn't work anymore. They were just hiding my wounds. I had to heal them. So once I got rid of all of that shit, then I was just left to face the pain. And from there, well, then there's nowhere to run. You can't run away anymore.
Did your partner in your ex-marriage attempt to bring any of this to light? Like, hey, Neal, this thing you're doing is fucking up our marriage.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But it's happened twice. Yeah, it's happened twice because that happened like in my early 20s, and then it happened again like 7 months ago. It was a full cycle. And I'll tell you now, fellas, like, I was so lucky, right? I was born, you know, good family, grew up in the rainforest, grew up camping on islands, lots of fun, lots of laughter. And then, like all of us, you go to high school, and then that's where the constriction becomes. That's where all the bullying, that's where all the identity, that's where all the shit gets rubbished. And that's where the civilization really clutches onto you and starts to destroy you. But then that's when I started to destroy myself, because I believed it all and just became addicted to this negative cycle. And then in a nutshell, same thing, 1 foot in destruction, 1 foot in self-development. Got to my early 20s, just self-destructed because I couldn't see myself objectively. And then I was in this desolation, you know, the separation. I wasn't happy with my body. I was depressed. I was addicted to weed. I was addicted to shit food. And then I had this mountain of debt that I had to fucking deal with. And the only way that I could get out of it was to jump into construction, doing just fucking concreting or cementing, as you guys might call it. Something I did not want to do vehemently, you know, objected to my whole life because it's what my dad did. He was the construction guy. But I had all this debt and I had no money, so I had to jump into it because it's something I could make good money in immediately to deal with this monster. So
there were two things that you mentioned. Your first breakup, you were that person that was going around in circles with, you know, addiction. But in your second, you were already on the path of leadership and self-healing. So those were two different breakup contexts. What were the similarities and differences of those?
Well, there's the thing. This is the difference. Is the first one was all the obvious stuff, all the obvious shit that every single one of us goes through: separation, you know, money issues, addictions, shit body, lack of clarity, negative thoughts, right? That was the first one. Spent all 10, 12 years paying off my debt, built myself back up, got myself into a position where, okay, I had some money behind me. I had a good relationship. I had choice now. I didn't have to concrete. I could choose what I did. And then now I was more miserable than I was before. I'd fucking made it, and then I found myself I'd always had battled my demons. I'd always had like a suicidal, depressive state to me. I'd never actually do it. I realize now, of course it was a sadness, but it was just a thought process. It was me identifying with thoughts and being a victim. That's all it was, really. So it was bullshit. But it's painful and it's real, and I know what it's like to be trapped in that cycle. This time, it was actually real, because it was like, what the fuck? I made it. Now what? Now what? And the difference was that I didn't have any of the bandages. I didn't have any of the drugs or the food to mask the pain. I was forced to actually sit with it and figure out what it was. And what it was that call of that conscience. It was that archetypal hero's journey of you need to leave this comfortable world and you need to step into the unknown.
And so was that reflected in terms of your wife's inability to follow you into that wilderness, or was it more some other kind of issue within the relationship structure?
No, it was all me. It was all me, but it was all her as well. We just, we loved each other, but we weren't a match. We just weren't a match. It was simple. It's like the more you try to push things, the more they push back. You can't force the force. We just simply weren't a match. So as painful as it was, I knew in my heart that I had to let it go. I had to let it go because it just wasn't working. Staying in the same town that I'd grown up in, small little town, doing comfortable work with this comfortable relationship that clearly wasn't working, I had to let it all go. And the funny thing is that we're all being guided, every single one of us. If any of us just sit under a tree and just do nothing and sit with ourselves for a short period of time or a lengthy period of time, we're going to feel something, and we're going to feel it right in here, our heart, our call, and we're going to feel it in our solar plexus. That's the energetic structure, the energetic placement of our pride and our power. And because we aren't following our heart, because we aren't actually taking that guidance, well, we're not going to feel good about ourselves. Anytime I deny that, I don't feel good about myself. So now I have to follow that.
So as a gentleman who you just spoke of energetic elements of the physical body, what's your experience with the like if we're thinking of chakras, the base elements that are in the groin and the abdomen, the gut? Do you have a conscious association with that area of energetic realm in your physical and spiritual body?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm no expert on the matter. I mean, I don't know exactly how it all works, but I know how consciousness works, and I know that the body is a reflection of consciousness. I mean, that's why you can have spontaneous remissions. That's why somebody can, starve themselves to death and then still not lose weight. It's because it's a conscious mental structure that is being projected physiologically. Because ultimately, this whole reality, every single thing, I mean, you guys would know this, it's just pure consciousness. It's just purely energetic hologram. It's a unified field. None of this stuff
do you have any story of an experience where you experienced something that was beyond the physical realm, where you knew, like, okay, this is unexplainable with my five senses?
Oh, 100%. And it's the guidance of the Almighty. I could tell you the quick story.
Yeah.
Is that when I decided the second time, when I was in that absolute misery and I had to leave town, I had to leave. Right. As soon as I took that step, I was still holding on to the past, because what I did is I packed all of my possessions into my ute, said goodbye, and the plan was to just drive out of town and just drive into the desert, just like Mad Max, and just go and try and, and just go on like a voyage and just go and sit on a rock for 3 days and have a fast, something like that. But I realized, I knew in my heart, I knew that I was still running away. I knew that I needed to run towards. So beyond that thought, I knew that I had to reduce everything down to just my body, my bag, and my bank account, and I knew I had to find a master. Now, I'd had a master, but I'd gone off the path, so that was on me. It didn't work. But because of that guy, I'd met another guy, and he lived in New Zealand, which is across the water from Australia. And in the back of my mind, I thought, I should really go and see this guy. But first I'll drive into the desert. The day I went to leave my old life and drive into the desert, my car blew up. So then I was stuck in the same little town. I couldn't leave. I thought, yep, here we go. So then I jumped on the plane. That was a sign. That was guidance. I jumped on the plane to go to a capital city of the state, and then from that capital city, you'd go over the water. Now, deepest in my heart, in my soul, I knew that I needed to move to a city. I knew I needed a new life with new experiences, getting around these powerful people that I wanted to emulate. I knew that in the back of my head. So I got from my city, to the city nearby, to the capital city, and then I went to get on the plane to go to the other country to see the master. And I got to customs, and they said, just wait a minute here, sir. We just need to check something with immigration. I thought, here we go. I had health powders, right? And they're all white. So I figured, maybe they think they're drugs. And they said, did you order a new passport recently? I said, yes. They said, well, that means this passport's invalid. You ain't getting on the plane. So just quickly, what happened then is for a split second, I thought, fuck, what do I do now? Shit. I freaked out. But then I thought, wait a minute. Relax. This is the embodiment of your new philosophy. And the philosophy is the only possession we truly have is our body. We can't own anything because the earth owns us. So I was stuck in this new city, and I just had to make it up from there. Luckily, I had my sister live there, and I had some friends that lived there. So I was able to just go with the flow. And then in a nutshell, because I got stuck, that mistake that I'd made ordering a new passport that got me stuck in that new city, that led to all these coincidences that kept coincidentally happening. And it just led to me building this whole new entire life on the Gold Coast. And it's exactly what needed to happen. It's exactly what I asked for. And here's the thing for people to remember. When I'm being guided, when you're being guided, it's not going to look the way that you want it. You're going to be given these obstacles. I'm going to be given these situations that I'm mentally aren't going to agree with. This looks like shit. I don't like this. I don't want that. But that is the gateway to what you actually asked for. And how you asked for it is you asked for it with your energy and your fucking intention. And that's why it doesn't look the way that you want it to look, because it's how I asked for it. But if I'm able to push through that and just go with it and not object to it, I end up getting exactly what I asked for. Exactly what I asked for every single time.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because what you just said is, in essence, who I want to be isn't actualized yet. So the mistaken self is making the ask and envisioning what it wants to be. Of course, it's going to be off-center. But as I develop and become more and more the individual I really am created to be, then it's closer to what is being envisioned as an enlightened self.
Oh, 100%, Greg, 100%. And it's like this, right? Again, back to the thoughts being bullshit, Mark, is because they're always within myself. I'm always projecting forwards. Like, the beautiful thing is now, because of the regimentation I have in my life, the past is pretty much irrelevant now. I don't think about the past because I'm so powerful in the present in what I'm doing, and I'm proud of myself in what I'm doing. So there's no need to worry. The past evaporates because I feel good about myself. Now, the future is something that still plagues me from time to time, and I see that. But here's the thing, coming back to that story, the deeper guidance, the deeper intuition, the deeper intelligence is so much more powerful and so much more smarter than our rational minds that are based in this physical world, because it exists in now present time. There is no other time that exists except for right now. So the rational mind wants, I start here and I do all these steps and I get this result. Deeper intelligence is so much more smarter because it knows the actual true path, because it's linked with the energy of the entire universe. So that's why it can be difficult for myself and for others to understand the next step. The guidance of what it's showing me is because it only ever shows what needs to be done in this present moment. Deeper intelligence and intuition won't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow or what you should do next week, because it knows that doesn't exist, because all that's relevant is what needs to be done right now. And once I follow that and take that next step, then it will show me the next step. That's why it can't make sense. That's why
how do you rectify that with this idea of having a 5-year plan and creating a kind of a business plan or an outcome? Like if you're a filmmaker, like you're going to go through 2-3 years of production, or maybe 18 months if you're really fast and good. How do you rectify that idea? There's this juxtaposition there of being in the moment and recognizing that there's only now, which I fully agree with, and this idea that we can cultivate an extension from this now that has structure into the future.
Yeah, 100%. Like the answer is always both. The answer is always both. Have your goals, have my objectives, have a vision. And the biggest thing is having that vision within, because the mind is going to project that outside of you. So definitely, yes, have a vision, have a plan. But I found within myself, don't be so stuck to the plan, Neal, because sure, I'm going to get my goals, but if I go out and I try to make all these things happen outside of myself, it's always just going to backfire, because whatever my resonance is, however I'm feeling, if I go out and try and change the physical world, but I'm not based in the present and feeling powerful and having a good energy, eventually it's going to match. It's really quite simple. Whereas if I work on myself and I have that fucking good energy, I feel great about myself, I go with the flow, the physical world is going to match that. It's going to come up. And because of the guidance of the Almighty, the guidance of deeper intuition, it's going to deliver the goals. It's going to do that, but it's going to deliver it in a way that doesn't quite fit how we thought it would be. It's all going to happen, but we just have to be adaptable and not be so attached to what it's actually reflecting back. Does that make sense?
You said a couple of times very open-ended terms like the source or the intuition or the guidance of the Almighty. And my sense of that is that you don't ascribe to or subscribe to traditional religious frameworks, but you have a sense of the supernatural, the higher power, as it were. Can you explain a little bit about what historical religions your family might have had that you shed in order to find this level of freedom? And what is it, a Buddhist context? What are the just contexts that sort of inform this point of view?
Oh, it's all of them. It's all of them, Mark. It's all of it combined. It's like, there is only one infinite power, ultimate, true, pure consciousness, right? There's only one, and it's infinite because there is only one. If there was more than one, it wouldn't be infinite. That's why. Anything it possesses, it doesn't withhold, which means that it's within you, it's within me. Every single one of us, everything around us is alive. This microphone, right? It's not dead. This computer screen, this shirt, it's not dead because it's pure conscious energetic energy. It's a pure hologram. No one single point is different from the other. That's why it's infinite. So bringing that back to religious structures or Buddhism or Jesus or whatever the Tao, whatever it is, these are just different frames, different perspectives that are all pointing and talking about the exact same thing. It's just in a form that will resonate and that will be heard by different people. It's like I can sit on here and different people are going to get different things out of every single sentence each one of us say because of what they were asking for and what they were ready to receive. So every religion, every spiritual scripture, every enlightened teacher, every master, everything, it's just different forms and different fingers. They're all just pointing to the same thing because it's in a different form that is relevant for the individual who's ready to receive that message. That's how they're going to receive it. And it's all pointing to the one ultimate source, which is just universal consciousness.
Did you come to that through any particular investigative framework? Like the all in all is often referred to as a Hermetic principle that traces back to things like the Kabbalion or the Emerald Tablet or those sorts of things. Is there a particular framework that you trace back to that idea?
No, man. No, I just got a good teacher. No, man. It's just simple. It is just this present moment. It's just the presence of God. And that's why I talk about those thoughts. Is it's really quite simple. It's so simple, but it's so profound that when I say it, people will hear it, but they won't listen. They'll look, but they won't see. Thought, feeling, action, awareness. It's really that simple. All we are, all we truly are, all I am is just pure awareness. That's it. So when I went down for so many years, the process of personal development and self-development, I'm getting involved in the thoughts, in the subject matter, and I'm missing all of my thoughts about the thoughts. And then I become this personal development manager who doesn't like certain thoughts and who's trying to fix certain thoughts and certain character traits. None of it's real because we aren't our mind. We are pure conscious awareness. That's all I am, and that's all you are. And because that's all you are, it means that I and you are everything. So there's nothing to fix with the mind. There's nothing to change. There's only just to be awareness and to just see what you're doing to yourself. Because if you are and I am universal ultimate power, there's nothing to improve upon that. There's only the revelation of what is.
That resonates with me for sure. I get it. And I can feel that in my gut right now. It's like a humming kind of happening in there.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Or it's the Coca-Cola you drank earlier.
Oh, I don't drink Coca-Cola, so.
No, that's a joke, son. I'm wondering, Neal, has the spirit ever compelled you to go back to people of your past to make amends for damages done?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. And I wouldn't even call that the spirit. It's like, for me, it was like all of us, every single one of us. I've got things from the past that I didn't like, things that happened to me that I didn't like that happened to me. And I held on to that and all this scar tissue. You know, I've had it all. I've had the suicidal depression. I've had fucking sexual abuse. I've had drug addiction. I've had alcohol. I've had self-doubt. I've been through it. I know what it feels like, and I know the struggle that it is to have that terrible burden that nobody should ever have to deal with. But I realize that it doesn't exist anymore, and it's me that's doing it. The past doesn't exist because it's not here. I mean, where is it? Right. Where is the past? Where is it? Right. Where? It's not here. It's just there, and it's just a memory, and it's not the memories. It's the internal dialogue in the conclusion. It's the thoughts about the thoughts. It's this happened, and I feel bad about that. This happened, and I feel good about that. It's a process of seeing, because I'll say it again, us being universal awareness, the only thing we have to do, the only thing I have to do is be aware of what's going on, including what's going on in the mind.
So both of our countries have a deep wound to life with the indigenous people of the country, or in our case, people that were brought here and enslaved. And I find it a bit of a conundrum to hold as real the past is in the past, which I absolutely get from a personal level. Also, my current present, the community I live in, involves people of color that have a history of racism that there now is demeaned and challenged far more than my own now. So I'm wondering, do you have any personal experience with the Aboriginal people of Australia, New Zealand, or does that come into your consciousness of, okay, I'm a part of this community as a whole. What can I, as a wholeful being, be doing to help heal elements of our current now?
It's just a letting go process. And again, I'll always come back to it. It's just subject matter. It's just thought. It doesn't exist. And why is that? Because if every single one of us, if all three of us right now, we had amnesia and we lost our memory, well, we'd still exist. We would still exist if we lost our memory. So that means we aren't our thoughts. That means we aren't our mind, because we're still here. And that applies to every single person, every single part of our species. So that's how I view it. I don't view it as race or people of color or different cultures. I mean, it is important to have your own identity, but I just see us all as the same species. There's one planet and there's one humanoid species on it. So what's the difference, right? We're all different in our own way, but we're all way more similar than we believe. And I'll say it again, if we all lost our memory right now, every one of us would still exist, which means we aren't our traumas. We're now.
Right. But so for where Mark and I live, primarily the industry aspects of where we live, where there's gasoline production and all this madness with chemicals and chaos, that's predominantly people of color's neighborhoods. So if I lost my memory and consciousness and I'm still here, that's a fact that's still present with or without my memory.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess.
What do you want me to do?
No, I don't. You know what? So you asked a question. I'll say what I would love for you to do is to hold that in your consciousness of where you are and be able to look around and just be like, oh, you know what I notice? I don't know what you would notice because I don't live there.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there isn't evil in the world, all right? Evil exists, 100%. But ultimately, what I'm pointing towards is the ultimate control and the only control that every single human being has.
Well, I have heard you state that in fact, I think earlier in this conversation, you said a man's responsibility is to pass on intelligence and help others.
Yeah. And that's it. And it's like this, right? Every single problem, every single pain, every single struggle that I've ever had in my life and every single human being has in their life is because of that division within, that tearing between consciousness, mind, and body. Without that unification. So whether it's a chemical plant polluting the environment, whether it's a brutal dictator, whether it's an environmental catastrophe, a torn family, depression, anxiety, suicide, sexual abuse, alcoholism, all of it comes down to that division within, that disconnect within self between our mind, body, and soul. Because ultimately, none of us have a soul. We are a soul. So when people do these brutal things like destroy this planet or get caught up in brutal dictatorships or whatever, it's because it's a reflection of them within. I have only ever caused harm in my life is because I'm in pain myself. I've only ever caused good things in my life is because I'm in a good state within. It's all a reflection of the individual. So I haven't got world peace in my hand, but I know how I work. And because we all have red blood, I know how you work.
I like that.
Are you open to being challenged a little bit about this, Neal?
Oh, go on. Bring it on, baby. Tell me what you think.
So there's a felt consequence and consciousness that's been impacted by generational trauma that's the result of oppressive actions by classes of people. And so that internalized structural awareness, their consciousness, has been limited and abused and contained and impacted as a result of the actions of oppressive peoples. So whether that's the indigenous population of the United States or whether that's the former descendants of slave population of the United States, all of those cultures exist within a framework that was constructed through genocide, imprisonment, the reduction of rights, oppression, abuse, right? So to say that that's their responsibility in their consciousness sort of misses something, right? Can you see that?
Oh, I can see that 100%. I'm not saying, I've been so blessed in my life, I've never had to deal with that sort of stuff. all I'm saying is, let's say we took an individual in that situation. Imagine if you could, or I could, spend a lot of time with this person and develop their health, develop their mindset, develop their spiritual awareness, and actually educate and show them through my example how they can take full responsibility as an individual. What's to say that you can't break that cycle? What's to say that none of us have that power within? Because it's like this, Mark. Every single one of us are born pure. We weren't born from our mothers or our fathers, the whole process. We were born before we were born. Because we're pure consciousness, we're all, including myself, a unique shard of that universal animating force, which means every child is born pure. I mean, no child is born evil. No child is born an asshole. They want to play. They want to share. They want to laugh. They want to expand. They're curious. They want to explore. So innately within every single person is that beautiful, expansive energy. But then I come into the world, you come into the world, and then it does all this crap to us and teaches us these things that are false, and then we do it to ourselves. We absorb the culture of the past. We absorb the stories, and we become that. What I believe, I become. What you believe, you become. But my point is that nobody ever loses that. Nobody ever loses that pure essence within. It just goes dormant. And that's my job, that's my work, is just to make people remember, to reawaken within them the force that's already there, the beauty of the human species that nobody was ever born without and that nobody can ever lose.
Yeah, well, you mentioned at the beginning of this question, this answer, this idea that you had been blessed with your upbringing, and that there's something we give a label to that, and we call that in the current vernacular white privilege is the name that we give that, especially in the States, right? And it's the idea also in the Buddhist realm of a fortunate birth. Circumstances where the amount of oppressive forces and degrading forces in your life have a different level than some other places in the world if you're born in those places. Now, granted, we all do come to the earth with this inherent beauty, as you suggested. And then when we come into certain social contexts, then there's different levels of privilege and different levels of benefit. And so I'm wondering if you take that into account as you think about this, and what, if any, ideas do you have about liberating oppressed people through your work?
Well, basically, all I hear, Mark, is excuse to not take personal responsibility. I mean, I wasn't an orphan born in Nigeria or anything like that, right? But there's still a reflection. I mean, we all get our serve of shit. Sure, I was born blessed. Sure, I had a happy childhood. But because of, say, the sexual abuse that I experienced, I lived my entire life in the lowest possible vibration, which is shame. Shame is the absolute lowest frequency. So I lived like that for 30 years in that shame. So that was my curse to bear. Was, sure, my physical world was okay, sure. But energetically, the experience of my soul was the lowest possible vibration. So that was what I had to deal with, you know what I'm saying? Whereas somebody who had a brutal physical circumstance, they might have got, a handful of bananas, and then, yes, they're feeling grateful, they're feeling positive. I mean, how many examples do we need of people that have either been born into riches and they committed suicide, people that were born orphans, ultimate poverty, and became multimillionaires and became ultra successful? I'm no hard ass. I'm not the staunchest person in the world. Absolutely not. Because I'm just, I'm not going to sit here and preach like I'm some god, because I definitely am not. But I do know this: personal responsibility. Personal responsibility.
So I want to thank you for entertaining the question first.
Yeah, basically, I have the power, you have the power, we all have the power. We all have the power. That's all I'm saying. But I hear where you're coming from. Doesn't make it any easier, but we all have the power.
And I am reminded of, again, in our country, Malcolm X, I think, was a strong leader. And I think ultimately that's what he was attempting to discover for himself and help others to see, that within themselves was ultimate beauty and the ability to transform their personal life.
100%, and it's not an easy process, Craig. You know, the painful, the internal painful odyssey that any strong man has to go through, that I go through to this day. You got to give yourself a bit of credit. I mean, it's pretty crushing when you look at all of your insecurities. When you look at, I was the reason for all of my struggling. I was the reason for all my fucking around. I was the reason for all the pain that I've caused others. And I also, too, was the reason for the pain that I caused myself. I mean, and also humbling myself and realizing that, fucking hell, like, what am I doing? What the hell am I doing? Why have I done this to myself? You know, that's a process that is difficult to go through. But ultimately, the hardest process is not going through that. It is staying asleep and staying blind, because I realized anytime I tried to avoid it, again, that pain, that suffering of the core within, the punishment for not abiding by the path that is being presented to me, the reason why I was here, there's no greater pain. And I'll just summarize it in this. The difference between the pain I felt in my first devastation and the second devastation was because I didn't get what I want. The second pain was because I wasn't doing what God wanted, what the universe wanted me to do. I'd done the trek. I'd gone around the mountain. I'd gone up the mountain, and I'd made it. I'd made it to the top. Look at me. Look at me. But because I hadn't come back down to the world of the suffering to help other people, to help elevate other people, to share these gifts, to share my story, because I was being selfish and sitting up there by myself, that was the greatest pain. And to this day, like, I love this podcast. I love being here with you guys. If I don't come here and do something like this every day, I'll suffer. I'll go straight back to that darkness that I spent my whole life in, because this is the path. It's immediate. When I'm following the path, I get rewarded with being powerful and feeling positive. When I don't follow the path, hell, baby, hell.
I have a question. This might be for you both, because I know physical well-being is a very important aspect to an enlightened self.
100%.
And physical well-being, a lot of it comes from challenging the biology of who we are through weight training, or some people do fasting, et cetera, et cetera. Do you find that also happens with your emotional body? Do you place yourself in emotional challenge and hold it as long as you can in order to grow in that emotional realm?
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything I want and everything I need is on the other side of fear. And when I place myself in challenging situations, I'm able to see those emotions. They're able to come up. Like, I can sit here with you guys and be like, yep, I'm strong, I got it all sorted. But then put me in some situation that I'm unfamiliar with, and it's going to be like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? That's good, because it'll not only allow me to get used to it, but it'll allow me to see, again, my thoughts about the emotion. It's never, ever the experience that's affecting us. It's never the world. It's our interpretation and the lens which through we frame it, and the dialogue, and then the conclusion we make about the experience. That's what affects my emotional reality. That's what affects my frequency, my feelings. And it's the same with you guys. Now, it doesn't mean if someone come in here with a machete axe and then started chopping my arm off, it doesn't mean I wouldn't be fucking in a pretty damn, different state. But it's just something to keep in mind. It's just something to keep in mind as we analyze our past, we analyze our traumas, or we find ourselves in new situations in life. It's if we, again, I always come back to this because it's the only thing that matters. Every one of us is pure consciousness. And what is pure consciousness? It's awareness. And what does awareness do? It observes. And that's where all the answers are found, in observation. observation without judgment.
All right, I think we're coming towards wrap-up time, but I have 2 questions, if you don't mind, to wrap up. First one's pretty simple. Do you surf, since you're a Gold Coast?
Not a chance, brother. Not a chance.
Not a chance. Okay, that's a great intro to fear. You should pick that up and look at that.
Nah, I got time for that shit, man. I got a world to build. I'll fuck around on a surfboard.
Okay. Here's our next question. Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Oh, fucking the Slim Shady all the way, baby. All the fucking way. All the way, every day of the week.
All right.
Why is that? What is it about it?
Oh, just Eminem's the bomb. I'm just not a Foo Fighters guy. I'm not a Dave Grohl guy. I just go I'm not a big Eminem guy either, but like, fuck, it's Eminem, man. Come on. Damn.
Yeah. Is he in your playlist when you're at the gym?
Nah. It's in everyone else's playlist. I don't have to play it. You just hear it.
Yeah.
You just hear it everywhere.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, anything you want to add to that, Mark? It looked like you were going to say something before.
No, I'm just always curious as to what it is about this question, because we ask it of every guest. And there's a kind of thing that their heart, you're talking about consciousness, right? And awareness. And music is one of those things that influences us in a less direct way. We feel music, right? And so I'm just curious about what it is about Eminem that inspires you.
Oh, fuck it. Now you're putting words in my mouth. Eminem doesn't inspire me. I'm a heavy metal guy. I'm a fucking metal guy, man. Yeah, I'm a metal. I'm like a cyber gothic industrial fucking holistic music guy, man.
A guy just turned me on to Avatar. Are you familiar with Avatar?
Nah.
Check out Avatar Paint Me Red is the intro song, where I was like, oh, these fucking guys kill.
Avatar Paint Me Red, right here.
Yeah. I think it'll light you up. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, that's the shit. And that's the biggest thing. And I love music because it's vibration. That's why it affects us so powerfully. Because it's energy. It's pure energy. You know the story.
Yeah. So, thank you very much for taking time from down under with a couple of blokes from the Bay Area.
My pleasure. You got anything you want to add to that, Mark?
Just that I'm really grateful for your presence here with us today, and then also the ideas that you expressed with the universal principle of creation through intention and conscious awareness.
Oh, it's the only thing. It's the only thing, and that's what my master taught me, is that, and still teaches me to this day, is that that's the only thing that matters. Neal. Don't worry about the goals. Have your visualizations, have your goals. But if you had to choose between your goals, the physical world, and God, ultimate consciousness, spiritual enlightenment, freedom, what are you going to choose? It's a no-brainer. And the funny thing is...
Literally a no-brainer.
It's literally a no-brainer. And the funny thing is, when you actually choose that with purity, if that's what you truly want, you end up getting your goals anyway. And you end up getting far more. You get even more than what you even asked for. It's such a dichotomy. It's laughable. It's so
awesome. Well, if people want to check you out, they can catch you at Neal Fisher on Instagram, and then I think Twitter. What was the other one that was on you?
No, just Instagram or Facebook. Just go Instagram. And
then the website is theunifiedman.com.au if you'd like to check out more.
That's the one. Come and have a yarn.
Come on over. See you soon. Thanks again, Neal.
See you, brothers.
Recording stopped.